Hello and welcome to the Shakedown. Our mission is to inform people about how the criminal justice system works, the real people impacted by the justice system, and methods to improve justice through compassionate and casual conversation. Hosts of the Shakedown share over 50 years of combined personal experience dealing with Texas prisons and working to change the criminal justice system. And now, here's our show.
They don't get much, but it's like at least they get something. You know, they're getting.
Right.
That was going to be another thing I was going to ask Heather. Heather said that one of the things that she wanted, people to do is to write their representatives, and that's all. That's very smart. That's a good idea. But I'm wondering if there's another. That's a top down kind of solution. I wonder if there's a bottom up solution, like something that we all can do, or something that we can get together and do that could be a start to a change. Or help one person.
I mean, right. It's all in writing and calling, and it's the head of psychology at the Texas Department of Corrections. There's the prison warden. There's your county executive. There's you can start at the local level as well. It doesn't have to be like your state representatives or like your Congress people, but you definitely have to just start talking to people, get like a support group together on Facebook, get petitions, do those like small local level things, talk to the county executive, talk to, those organizations that send volunteers to the prisons to, talk to prisoners and stuff like that. So there's ways to do it on a more local, I guess, centralized level, but also like getting a hold of the TDC and being like, hey, this is a problem. We've been in here. We know for a fact it's a problem. We need to do something about it. And find somebody that's willing to listen and work with you guys and see some sort of change. You just got to be loud about it and really obnoxious.
You're right.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You do. I mean, if you're going to be like these podcasts are great, but you also have to just be really, because they can't ignore you after a certain amount of, being like, hey, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem. At some point they have to be like, okay, what's a problem?
Okay, fine. Let's talk about this now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Either they're going to be open to it, or you're going to annoy them into being open to it. Either way, they're going to be open to it.
And I would say, and honestly, I feel the same way about like when we're talking about changes for this and for also for like criminal justice, changes in the criminal justice system.
Mm-hmm.
It starts just on a personal level. Like if you treat everyone, if everyone's a person, then if you start that as your default assumption, then it doesn't matter if they have a mental health problem. It doesn't matter if they have a record. It doesn't matter what their situation is. They're a person first. Then that's your default setting. So if you have someone who's running for city council and they're saying we need to we need to put more, like we're not going to spend money on mental health, and we're going to spend more money on making sure that people are getting arrested. Then
those are people you need to talk to.
Yeah, you need to make sure that that person isn't on the city council, because that money, that all your tax money, that like the majority of your real tax money that's affecting real change in your neighborhood, that is now going to all the things you don't want. So like we just had a city council election, and that was like, I spent a bunch of time studying those candidates because there were like, one of them was totally, I'm going to be Mr. Tough on crime. I want to, triple the funding for the police in Longmont. And I'm like, I'm voting against you. I don't want any of that. So
right, we'll see you later.
Yeah, exactly.
It is so
You're done.
obvious to see the what you're talking. I mean, I don't really have much. The reason I asked that question is because I don't really have much hope that people in political positions of power are ever going to develop the kind of thing. I don't think they're there to really change anything other than how much money gets in their pockets. When you go to the neighborhoods where Houston, where our political
Mm-hmm.
leaders live, the homes are beyond anything you can imagine. If you go anywhere else in Houston, there are homeless people everywhere. There are homeless
Yep.
people that are obviously mentally ill, wandering around in the rain wearing their socks and a sheet over them, and no one
Mm-hmm.
cares or does anything about it. But if you go to the neighborhoods where the our political leaders stay, there's no homeless people there. They've managed somehow not to ever get in there. So I mean, it's obvious to me that that these people, it's not an issue that they'll ever have to really deal with or even care about to deal with.
Right.
I think.
Or
I
they
mean,
have the money to quietly send somebody away to an inpatient facility and pretend they were on vacation for a month. It's like
yeah,
that.
you're right. If it's someone they
Yeah.
love or a family member that ends
Mm-hmm.
up having a problem, but then it's a completely different circumstance. They don't go to prison. They don't.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
It's different than it's about each and every one of us developing some kind of warmth of soul, so to speak, and empathy for one another, to be able to have genuine genuinely care for the next person's well-being, to be able to inquire and have them feel like they're safe to talk to you about it. I mean,
Exactly.
there's
So
a
that's what.
lot to overcome in all this.
Yeah. I mean, it's an uphill battle that probably won't see a tangible solution for a long time, and it's heartbreaking because obviously I would like to see some change, but it's got to start somewhere.
I,
And
Well,
if the work that I'm doing now and the people that I'm contacting now work towards change so that, when my nephew's older or something like that, it's a lot different, then I did my job. But
yeah, it's
I
like you
think we
said
need
too.
to, yeah, we need to work at the local level. Like, yeah, like what Ryan was saying, city council, 1,000%. Your mayor, your county executive, those guys, the town clerk. See where your town clerk stands for, because I'm pretty sure it's up in New York. They're elected officials. I don't know what it is like in Texas, but your town clerk's elected. Your sheriff's
Oh,
elected.
I mean,
What's their
definitely, but
stance on mental health? You gotta start talking to people.
It's true, and it's just anybody really you have a chance to talk to if you get on a
Mm-hmm.
personal level, because
Exactly.
you talk to one person, they talk to another person, and those people talk to more people, and it's like a snowball. It just keeps
Exactly.
building momentum, and more people, and the more people that know, and the more people that talk about it, the more loud and obnoxious it's going to be.
Exactly. You can ignore one or two people. You can't ignore a whole crowd.
I love
and you,
that you're like be loud and obnoxious. That's awesome.
Oh, I
mhm.
am naturally loud and obnoxious, so I'm just over here like,
Yeah.
I still have some family that's like, you have a mental health podcast. I'm like, yeah, I'm batshit crazy, and I own that shit. Like,
Yep.
it is what it is.
But is
You
it
know.
so? I think that's a very big sense of power right there. Is when you own it. Like you were like, okay, this is a part of who I am. I accept
Hmm.
it, and here it is, everybody. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, that was a big part of my changing, and like becoming, I don't know, for lack of better words, a productive member of society.
Hmm. Yeah.
let's not go crazy here, Dave.
Nobody's going crazy.
I
but
might
I
be.
am
but
crazy though. We're all crazy here.
Malone might be right about the fact that, like, the people who have power right now, they may not change. Those people, they might be set in stone. A lot of them, I definitely agree. They are probably set in stone. They're set in their ways.
Hmm.
However, they're
I just
not
don't
there
see them ever
permanently.
being, when they wake up in the morning, changing their mind from whatever it's on, which is probably something that's going to better their life. to focusing on mental health, which isn't going to do anything for them. I mean,
Yeah.
on sort of a I mean, it's not going to do anything immediate for them. You know, I mean, over
Right.
time, it will make the world better in general, but I don't think that's their focus, is what I'm saying. And
No,
Right,
it's
but
getting them to have that kind of focus is very difficult. That's well,
hmm
don't get that's kind of getting on a different subject. We've really covered that already.
but
Right.
the thing is that the person who's running for city council, whoever that may be, the person who's running for city council or running for mayor or running in that local election, they might be the next governor, and then that governor might then when after they run for governor, they might be the next president, and that changes the whole story in a generation. Like that changes in years, but the person the and they and because everyone was loud on the local level, that
hmm
affected the national level later on. But
I can
Yeah.
give you I can give you an example of what I'm talking about, though, Ron. My own
Mhm.
mother went back to college later in life, right after I went to prison, and uh, to become a drug and alcohol counselor to rid the world of this horror of drug addiction. And she's
hmm
very passionate about it. And while she was in college, she became part of a group that started putting on seminars at the state capitol for our lawmakers about educating them on the science of drug addiction, telling them exactly the same type of stuff that we're talking about right now. She used to go in there and she was loud and obnoxious, just like Heather, and she would proclaim that we are living in the dark ages of addiction treatment. We're treating it as a crime instead of as a health issue, putting people in prison for drug addiction, which is the same thing as putting people in prison for mental. It is a mental issue, is what it
hmm
is. And so,
Absolutely is.
and I mean the science was at that time was it's still the science of right now. There's alcohol does not affect everybody the same. There's some people who have a
Right.
chemical makeup, literally a chemical forms in their brain that is just like the chemical that is so akin to heroin. It's almost exactly the same. Doctors were studying a group. They were studying dead homeless people that were alcoholics, and they were studying their brains, and they found they thought that they were discovering that these people were all heroin addicts because their brains are saturated with this chemical that's associated with heroin use. That it's this just like she was saying about the opioids. It's to them drinking a beer is the same as using a oxycontin. They,
hmm
and it's a physical problem. It's literally a problem that is mechanical within their body that needs to be dealt with, and
Yep.
instead they send them to prison.
Right.
Yeah, because to add to
So
that, I like have had other painkillers with like my back surgeries and stuff like that. I didn't have a problem with Dilaudid. I didn't have a problem with morphine. It was only Oxy. I cannot
I
take
veered
Oxy. It
off
is
the
a
point
problem.
just a little bit, but my mom was putting on these seminars. George Bush was there. He was the governor of Texas at the time. He went from there right to the White House. Did he
Mm,
go to the White House with some kind of message about about alcoholism and how we're going to start treating it? No, he didn't
no.
care. It didn't. It never ever was mentioned publicly at all by him.
Well, the thing is okay. I totally understand that because you are going to get people that aren't going to care. But eventually you're going to get somebody that does. Or eventually you're
Well,
going to get
this is
somebody that did not realize that it's as big of a problem as it was because it's been swept under the rug for so long. So eventually you are going to find somebody that's like, oh, shit, this is a problem. We actually need to do something about it. So, yeah, being loud and obnoxious half the time, even like let's just say 80% of the time, doesn't necessarily work. But you have to do it for that 20%. That 20% of people that are like, you know what, you're right.
oh,
Because
I'm all
otherwise,
for
we
it.
might as well just quit while we're ahead and just
No,
keep
no,
status
no,
quo.
no. I don't. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean to sound as if I'm being
No, no, no.
pessimistic or
I'm
as if
just saying.
or you know I, we're doomed to failure and it's never going to work. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is that I think that it's more of something that I need to focus on how I can better the world around me, and not necessarily. I don't want to put it off on a politician or on somebody else that I think has more power than me.
Right. Well, I mean, I think I think it was David that said it. If we just start treating everybody as humans, everybody around you, it snowballs.
Yeah, and it's just tell people if they ask them, hey, do you know anything about mental health? Whatever. Say, hey, in prison,
Yeah.
just get real personal. I mean, the hell with it. I mean, and that's part of being quiet and obnoxious, I guess.
Well, and like if you feel like somebody that you know is struggling, ask them, "Are you doing
Yeah,
okay? Are you struggling?" And if they're like, I'm kind of, and if you feel like it's out of your wheelhouse to be that 988 is that the crisis hotline. They can call, they can text, and those are trained professionals to help counsel somebody. I say it in my TikTok lives and everything else all the time when somebody's, venting or whatever, just talking in my chat. There's like certain levels where I'm just like, I'm not equipped to handle that. These people are. I really want you to call 988, and I'll follow up and be like, hey, did you talk to them? Like, are you feeling better? Like, but just being there and pointing out when you feel like somebody's struggling, just being like, hey, are you doing okay? And if you're not comfortable doing that, talk to somebody that knows them that would feel comfortable doing that. Because
I think.
everybody has their limits on what they can and can't do, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And a lot of people too, I think if they, somebody just says, and they're going through it, and if somebody just says, hey, are you doing okay? You need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that when I'm going through it, if somebody just popped up out of the blue and it's like, hey, you seem kind of off today, are you all right? That in and of itself, that simple act of care goes a long way.
Yeah, because even if I'm like, no, I'm good, I'm just like, oh, somebody gave a shit. And sometimes that's all that counts.
Yeah.
Sometimes that is all that matters. And that goes a long way. It really does. So yeah, we kind of went to the top of the pyramid and worked backwards, but yeah, I mean, there's so many ways that we can just start making a difference, and even at a personal level. Just are you doing okay? Or just trying to treat everybody like a human being and realizing that everybody's going through their own struggles and everybody's dealing with their own shit. And I'm not the best at it some days, but it's a work in progress. And even being kind to myself is a work in progress.
I think
Sometimes
that's a great
that is
takeaway.
the very core of the personal level. Like being kind to yourself goes a long way.
That's without a doubt. I'm like that too. Like, that's something I work on constantly with myself, is to try and be a little bit more positive and not be so negative.
It's a lot of self-forgiveness, especially.
It's a hard one to do though, sometimes.
I'm still working on it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Well, Heather, we've been talking for a minute. I know it's getting late there. Do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, I think we've covered like a lot more than I anticipated. I wasn't sure coming into this like what we were going to do, but I'm very, very happy with the direction the conversation took, because I think it's just something we need to talk about more.
Absolutely. I think we're all in agreement on that. I will definitely have links and everything to your show on our description, and let everyone know about the Hot Mess Espresso. And yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everyone for being here. And that's it for tonight. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Oh, thanks for coming on. It's been because I was like you. I was like, what are we going to talk about here? Mental health, prison. We all know it's there, but it's it's just, I think everything went really well. And
this is what I love though.
You can find Shakedown merch, graphic novels, and other projects at waywordpress.com. That's WAYWORD press.com. If you would like to support The Shakedown, get exclusive content, and watch episodes live, you can support us at patreon.com/The Shakedown. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment to give Malone that inner peace he so richly deserves.